Let's get it, boys. Good evening, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of High Top Sports. It is, in fact, the best day of the week. It is Wednesday. It feels good to be here. A lot of things are still happening, even though it's supposed to be the slow period. I feel bad for man Zach Adal. Thought he was going to get resting time. No can do, baby dolls. We've had two more coaching changes since the coaching changes that happened 48 hours ago on Monday. Here we are. Back at it again. Some more coaching changes yesterday. We're going to talk all about that. The pulse of Gator Nation. Again, we're right back into the trenches of things. Everything's on fire within just a matter of a few days. We're going to go over that. And then also, too, some recruiting updates have happened in the past few hours. So we'll talk about that again. Joe Hamilton is heading off to A&M. We'll talk about what that means and how it's going to impact Florida. Dan Enos to Florida, old offensive coordinator from Arkansas. Again, pulse of the program. Then some recruiting changes and more. Before we do any of that, let's go ahead and introduce co-host for the evening, Mr. David Swolderquist, ladies and gentlemen. Swolder, how you doing, big fella?
Oh, it's just a slow news week right there because, there's nothing going on, man. I don't know, but, your boy David Swolderquist been here on the ones and twos because I just report the news.
I love it, Swolder. Why your face is covered today, Dave? We can't even see that beautiful thing. I got that. The mic, but also two boys and girls. Check out the Purple Gatorade, okay? Team Riptide Rush, of course. Now we do have a special guest, plural guest, joining the show today. This man is a Twitter Space legend, Twitter Space, God, as one would say. Also a Gator legend. Also the creator of the original collective. Also AI version of all those things. We got to give them, boys and girls. Mr. Eddie Rojas. For the people that are listening, I highly recommend going over to YouTube. Look at the eyes, bro. We got Eddie Rojas here on his Apple, what are these things called? Vision Pro?
It's the Vision Pro. And you get to make your own, avatar. And my avatar, I think, has like a major issue because his eyes are bugging. I should be wearing like sunglasses in my avatar. Like Mr. Soderquist.
This is incredible. This is a high top first. Okay, we are into the future, and so above us is obviously what he looks like in real life. And then below is the AI version, which I think is incredible. This is a blast. This is something new here, and it's a high top first, which we're excited about. But Eddie, welcome to the show, my man. Like I just said, I mean, a lot of people don't have to know who you are. You're constantly are on Twitter. Just yelling with Gator fans, your thoughts and opinions. You were heavily involved with the original collective. You and I, our relationship started through there over texting. This is our first time meeting. Well, my first time meeting AI Eddie. That's for all of us. But let's talk about it, man. A lot of things are moving around right now. We got some coaching changes. What's your thoughts on just kind of the health of the program currently? I know you vent a lot about it on Twitter, but not everybody gets to hear that.
Yeah, so I think Coach Napier is doing everything he possibly can right now. Like, I think if he's able to turn this around, it is going to be a great story for the Florida Gators. Like, I keep saying, we look at our schedule next year. Some people think it's really challenging. A great coach can win 8 games with that schedule. We can do it. Playing a bunch of new quarterbacks, got 7 home games. We got comparable talent or better than talent, probably 6 of the 7 teams on there. And then you probably got to pop like an LSU win without Jaden Daniels, which I think could happen at home. So, Billy's doing everything he can. I don't doubt one ounce that he can. He's trying to move some pieces around, find the right fits, get Roberts on the defensive side of the ball to kind of bring some oomph to that. I like the Enos thing. I love the off-staff Enos. Get another eye on the offensive side of the ball to help him and Russ Callaway put together, offensive game plans during the week. This is going to be such an interesting year. I mean, everything from the backup quarterback, DJ Lagway, and how he's going to play into it. Are they going to a la Tim Tebow him with Chris Leak from circa 2006? Are we going to do these things? So there's a lot of good pieces on the Florida Gators team. I read a really good read and reaction article earlier today, and it talked about the defensive side of the ball where a lot of our improvements have to happen. Billy addressed that. And, we talk about the DBs and Coach Will Harris. Like, think about that. He's got a great reputation. If there was an area of our defense where we can have guys that can tackle in open space and make us a dynamic defense, that's kind of the area. And so it's an opportunity for him to take some of that young talent. And then you mix in guys like LJ McCray that everyone, by all accounts, that dude's ready. Like, you don't see that a lot coming out of high school, and you don't even expect it as a fan that like follows. And we're not normal fans, people that do what we do and like kind of hang out where we hang out. We're those fanatics that everyone talks about, those crazies. But he's done a good job. Billy has getting a higher level of talent. Albeit he's probably looking for more, but he hasn't done a terrible job with it. So this upcoming season could be one of two things. It could be a disaster, or it could be a Netflix documentary good, and everything in between.
So, look, I mean, I love that. I mean, I haven't really we've talked, I hop into the space from time to time, but that's just the kind of the narrative that I've been pumping of like, look, like, is this schedule going to be tough? But yes, but also the one thing is that the teams that we are playing, there's a lot of changes going on, which there's opportunities to get W's. Their AI is cheesing me out, and it's also freaking out the chat a little bit. It's
weirding me out as well.
I'm uncomfortably getting used to it, right? Like just a minute ago, like I kind of forgot you were fake for a minute. I just thought like you had a couple of features that were off, but I like it. I'm getting used to it. Just close my eyes. So the Enos one, let's talk about that, and then we'll talk about Joe Hamilton leaving to A&M. That's obviously a big move. That's kind of what really stirred up the fan base over the last 2 days. It got people rowdy once again. I felt like things were kind of settling down, and it feels like every time we do make a move, we take a step back. But you just said you like the Enos hire, which a lot of people were kind of like, what the heck? It seems like it's a washed up guy. But look, the guy's not coming in to be a head coach. It's somebody with a ton of experience. The guy's been a coach since the 90s, coming in and not such a massive role, but it's still a big piece to add off the field. And it looks like he's going to be part of recruiting a little bit. I don't think it's an exact replacement to Joe Hamilton because he was hired before Joe left. I believe from what I've heard, at least like it sounds like Billy knew this was happening before it happened, unlike some of the other ones where it seemed like he may have been a little bit blindsided. Enos seems to be a position of fill that somebody else was holding last year. Are we correct in that thought?
Yeah, I think so. And you know what? It was a great idea, with the Enos thing and the Hamilton thing happening simultaneous kind of buffer. We talk a lot about perception. Perception actually does matter. I mean, some people like to pretend that perception doesn't matter. When you're recruiting against your foes, perception does matter. So it's great to see Billy address it immediately. I love to see that. Show the fan base you have a plan. And in this scenario, he had a plan, which is good. Look, anytime you bring experience to our current staff, it's good for us, in my opinion. I feel like first 2 years we were kind of doing a little bit of live-in learning, and I think Billy would tell you that too. Like, he's trying to see what works and what doesn't. But anytime we bring a guy that came from Power 5 experience with plenty of years of his belt in dealing through turmoil and learning how to get through it, and get that guy in the offensive side of the ball with prep week. As we know, Billy juggles a lot of balls in the air throughout the course of the week. And so it's nice to have another guy to say, hey, I got this one, at 11 a.m. on a Tuesday when they're doing something for prep and Billy has to worry about special teams or meeting with the defensive side of the ball. You need those guys. I always feel like one of the genius moves that even Saban did, and I see Kirby doing it, is they would get former head coaches that probably were great offensive play callers or great defensive minds, and they add them to their squad. Why do you do that? Because you can't be everywhere at once. And it's nice to have a former HC in that defensive side of the room when you're not there, or offensive side of the ball when you're not there. That level of experience, there are guys like Dan Enos that he forgets things about football that most of us will never know. So it's a nice thing to have a guy like that in the room, regardless of track record and judging wins and losses and when he was fired last and this and that. There's success in that resume too. So I do like the hire a lot. I do like the Will Harris hire a lot. I do think there's some other great hires in there that he's made. I do like that. I think we had 2 decent pieces on the offensive line out of the transfer portal that I do like. And so and then we actually did some. He made some methodical moves. If in the article I read today, shout out to Read Reaction. It's a great article. He did talked about the DBs and the safeties being the one room. If we're going to jump into that top 5 SEC defense, that's a room that has to take catapult forward. We need to do better at tackling in open space. We need to do better at coverage. We need to do a little bit better as far as being ball hawks and getting those opportunities to intercept balls. And by being able to do all those things, what do? You allow guys like Slackman and guys on the line to get to the quarterback because it's harder for a QB that's in distress to make decisions quick and not make the wrong ones. So getting that room right is so important. I think they made some good moves in the offseason. According to PFF, when I was looking at Asa Turner and the guys that we added some quality in the offseason that can really help catapult us to that maybe number 5 defense. By the way, I shouldn't do this with my hands because I'm moving my screen. Hold on here. There we go. Okay. All right, there we go. This is wild. If you haven't went to Apple yet and you're watching, go to the Apple Store. They do a 20-minute free demo. It'll blow your mind. Pause. Right?
Eddie walked in for a 20-minute demo and walked out looking like this.
Mm-hmm. These things are not. This thing weighs like 20 pounds on your face. That's the one complaint I have. But when I tell you that you can leave, oh, this is nuts. When you do it, they're going to show you a setting where you could take pictures, like the panoramic pictures, and you could do there's a phrase where you could do a panoramic video. And you could put yourself back in the moment, literally back in the moment. So let's say you're doing "Won't Back Down" song, end of the third, and you're panning the entire stadium. You can go right back in it, and literally the people standing next to you, and like they are right there again.
Wow,
it's crazy.
Like you relive the photo.
Relive it. You can relive the photo. Wow. It's insane. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. So that's some cool stuff, man. Especially where we're headed, man. To be able to, because when you look at a photo, that's the whole point. It brings you back to that moment. You're literally going back into that moment now. That's
right.
Pretty sweet.
Don't let my weird looking avatar mess up what you think about this thing, because it's a lot better than this.
This is like a one-off. I think this should sell it a lot harder, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
When you drink is when it gets weird. Honestly, it blurs it out. Look, you said a lot of great things, man. The people were kind of asking about the Enos hire, didn't see or didn't hear about it. What he is coming in to do. It is an off-field position hire. The biggest thing that I took away was taking over head coaching projects, which you were kind of alluding to, is a guy that can come in and take over the responsibility on that, on a Tuesday or Wednesday or maybe game day. Hey, need you to knock these things out, which is something that we criticized Billy on all offseason, was he had too many things on his plate. And he has addressed that fully on all accords, I would believe, with the Roberts hire, with now this hire, with making Callaway as the co-offensive coordinator. Those are all things to lift a little bit of the heavy load that he currently does have. Dave, what are your thoughts on this and any more on Enos that we haven't discussed already?
Yeah, I mean, I saw a lot of people on Twitter like downing the hire. It's an off-field hire anyway. So anything that can help out, especially like we were just talking about Napier and some of the responsibilities that he has and takes it off his plate, that's a good thing. So I'm okay with the hire. And I think and it's kind of weird. When you look down his resume, he's been an offensive coordinator pretty much a lot of places, a quarterback's coach, associate head coach. This is going to be the first time he's like an advanced scouting. I think his title is advanced scouting and head coach in projects. So, I mean, of course, he's been coaching for a long time. He's getting older as well. So maybe this is kind of a role that maybe he can mesh into kind of like towards the end of his career coaching wise. And maybe he might want to coach for 20 more years. Who knows? But Napier has always stated that he needs to, take some of the responsibilities off his plate, as we were talking about. And this is one of the moves that he's done to take the responsibilities. Obviously, you have the Joe Hamilton departure. We'll probably get into that. We got into it a little bit here. We don't know who's going to typically fill that spot. We don't know if Dan Enos is going to have a little bit of a part in that role or not. But I mean, I like it. He's not coaching our offense, and I think that's why a lot of people got like weirded out by like the hire. And I'm just like, well, it depends on where the guy's getting hired to. So sure. I'm okay with it. It doesn't bother me.
I believe Billy's done a great job in hiring the youth in the right places, but also, counter it with experience in the right places as well, too. I think last year we had Armstrong, I'm excited to see what he's going to do, but there's probably a lot of question marks of where the defense was. Was he in a little bit over his head? Absolutely. So let's bring in Ron Roberts to help counter that a little bit. I still think Austin has the potential to do a lot of great things. I think Callaway's up and coming, has a lot of great things that he can bring to the table. Let's counter that with bringing some guys in that have a ton of experience that maybe just don't want to have all the weight, or have struggled in the limelight, but can do great things elsewhere. Charles Kelly is a prime example of that. DC, that went to Colorado. He has been in that position. He's done a great job as a safety coach, as a recruiter at Alabama, had the opportunity to go be a DC at Colorado, did okay, is now going back to Auburn, taking a step back to thrive at what he's good at. But that doesn't mean these guys don't try to take chances to move up. Billy Gonzalez is another one. People are like, why is he still wide receiver coach? Probably because this is my thing. I'm good at this. There's no need for me to go any further than that. Let me rock and roll here. And I think Enos brings that to the table, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, I totally agree. I mean, like I said, I have nothing against the hire whatsoever. It's an off-field position, and who knows, he might hire more off-field to help him out.
Let's move into Joe Hamilton. I've got to bring, because I wasn't ready for AI Eddie. Every time we move conversations, I gotta bring him with us. I gotta copy and paste him and slide him over with us. Anybody that's just joined us, this is Mr. Eddie Rojas here, Gator legend, former Gator player, baseball player, started the original collective. This is AI version of Eddie, but it's the real Eddie. It's Eddie's brain, just not his face.
Hey, will the real Eddie please stand up?
That's weird that it moves you out of the
it knows everything I'm doing. It's nuts. And by the way, I'm looking at you guys. I got you guys in you're like a theater right here. That's why I keep looking up. But next to you guys, I got my scoreboards open here, right? I could put TV on here, and then I could blanket the entire background where I wouldn't see anything else and put you guys in Yosemite National Park if I want to. Put our entire situation like we're hanging out at an RV, just chilling.
I love it. So let's talk about Joe. This is, again, where it felt like we're making some moves. We get the co-offensive coordinator. We get, I can't think of the young man, or not young man, the gentleman name that Soto approved on the strength and conditioning coach, right? Right. We're getting some momentum. It just seems like this Florida, we get moving, and then boom, we get punched back. Joe Hamilton goes on to Texas A&M. I did reach out to Zach Goodall because I believe there wasn't much clarification from anybody's article on exactly what he was leaving for. It seemed like it was just a lateral move. That's how it was positioned from all the articles that I read, which I think was part of the reason for the uproar, because it was like, he's leaving Florida. Here's the thing. He left for more money. This is according to Zach Goodall, so I'm not making this. More money for a upgrade in position, and it's closer to home, which seems to be where everyone's saying too, because he is from Texas. So that's what we do know. There is that question mark of look, he's been Billy's guy for 5 years now. He was on 3 years at Louisiana, now here for a couple of years. This is where I think people are starting to get a little worrisome of look, this is Billy's guy. He loves Billy. He's been bought in. Why is he now jumping ship too? Because he as well got promoted this year under Florida, right? Just
right.
Not high, not as enough, and not getting paid as much as what A&M is willing to send him. This is kind of I can see they're back and forth in the pool here, because we promoted him, we paid him more. He should be, we would think hey, bought in, kind of like that Craig Fitz, right? Because when Craig Fitz left for Bill O'Brien, you got to assume it's for less money or equal money, but for a lesser program in Boston College in Florida. A&M is obviously not a lesser program. It's but Bill left because that is his best friend. That's somebody that he loves. Well, I would assume that Joe would have that same love and appreciation for Billy because of what he's done for Joe, right? And vice versa, of course. But he chooses to move on. And again, money, promotion, closer to home, those are heavy, heavy things. Eddie, I'll go to you with this one. Is there some concern here, or is it, look, it's just simply the fact it's more money, it's another opportunity, and he really cares about being closer to home, or is there a little concern?
Yeah, remember, in the coaching profession, moving around is part of the job description. And I think it's kind of understood that just because you've been with me for 5 years and it doesn't mean that their road is over. It just means that the road is over right now. Sure. Like when you get an opportunity to take a pay raise, when you get an opportunity to be closer to home, there's a lot that A&M had to sell there. And it's a comparable move. I think Florida has a better history than A&M in football, but they have a lot of opportunity there. and let's just be honest where we're at right now as a program. We're in the ninth hour of a story, the 10th hour of a story. We need to turn it around. A&M is back at the beginning with their new head coach. And so when you're in his position, it probably makes more sense to go get that extra year, extra 2 years, extra 3 years of job security. And so it's okay to be honest with where you're at as a program. And that doesn't mean that Billy's going to fail. That just means that we're in the ninth hour. The first 8 innings haven't been exactly what we wanted, or the 8 hours in this example. And so if you're in Joe Hamilton's shoes, we'd probably do the same, because it's like, I get to be closer to home. I get more money. I get to restart instead of being at a point where it's a fork in the road. Is this going to go right or wrong? And that's where our program is. And so the good news is Billy gets to show us what a champion he is in the upcoming year. He gets to show us he has talent on the roster. We are better than 6 of our 8 expected wins. I know that Vegas has us at 5.5, but as a Gator fan, I know there's 8 wins of talent on our roster. We have 7 home games on our schedule. So, but for Joe Hamilton in particular, in that question, man, I can't say that he did the wrong thing. I don't think any Gator fan could say he did the wrong thing for him and his future and his family at this point. Maybe 2 years from now, we come back and say he should have stayed at Florida. Look how good Billy turned us around. But as we sit right now, that was probably the conservative, safe move, especially with the pay raise. So not a bad thing.
Yeah, I think that's spot on, right? And that's kind of where my head was at of like, there's no secret where the future of Florida is. It's definitely on the ropes. As backs against the wall, people understand that, and so that's what everybody's saying. Like, oh, he sees the blood. It's like, yeah, probably a little bit, and he has to think of his future. And it's like, hey, there's an opportunity now. A&M is restarting because they got a new coach in. Same thing with the Boston College situation. You got a lot of schools that are starting fresh. Same thing that Hugh Freeze was pitching last year to recruits. They're pitching the hope. They're pitching the dream. Everything Billy was pitching 2 years ago. It's new. It's fresh. And although A&M isn't necessarily secured anywhere, Elko's not going anywhere for at least 3 years. He knows that. So, like you said, this isn't like a cut in the road to Billy, but it's an opportunity to make more money, to get closer to home, to secure myself for 3 more years. Where, let's say in a year, not that he can't land on his feet, but I don't want to have to be worried about this in a year when my back's against the wall. I'd rather have the ball in my court, and that's what he's doing right now. And look, Billy has put himself in this position ultimately. And somebody just said we take negative takes on here, which is wild to me. Like, it shows how little you watch the show, because I think if you took a poll on Twitter, that is the complete opposite of how I'm looked at from this show. But that's what's crazy too. We're going to get into that, because that has been a thing on Twitter of just the different takes from the Gator, programs that talk about what's happening right now. Ultimately, again, I always say we all want the same thing, and that's to win. When these changes happen, we try to justify it or digest it or defend, and it's like you find yourself like trying to do certain things, but ultimately, look, he made a decision best for himself. Why those things are the core of it, a lot of things you could point to. Ultimately, he's just better opportunity for him, and you have to be happy for him and proud. And again, you saw a lot of the reactions from the players. They were in awe. They love this guy. You could tell from the reactions. And, I'm excited to see him also move on too. I think they understand that's just part of the game. Dave?
Yeah, I mean, you saw the players' reactions and all that, and obviously he was a big part of a lot of the players, especially in Texas, their recruitment. And you got to kind of look at it as a situation of like where, you look at Kirby Smart, and he was at Alabama for the longest, and then, the only place he was going to go is Georgia. I mean, he played for the University of Georgia. He's close to Georgia. And he's getting paid a lot more money. Of course, he's going to take that opportunity to go head coach a football team and a prominent Power 5 football team there as well. So it's like it's not the fact of like, sometimes maybe people will say, well, they smell the blood in the water. I mean, most people, if they get offered a different job somewhere close to home, making more money, they're going to take it for the most part, unless they just absolutely 100% love their job, or if they go back to their boss and they say, hey, we'll pay you more, whatever. I don't know what that situation was like, but most of the time people are going to leave in that situation. So it does suck. It does hurt, but we saw what happened with the strength and conditioning coach and how they were able to rehire a really good strength and conditioning coach to help out Tyler Miles there in the department. So we'll see what happens with the Joe Hamilton department. I'm not going to freak out yet until I find out, what Florida's next move is in that department and how they're going to structure it, because they may not just hire another director of scouting and recruiting. They may have 2 guys, they may promote from within, or they may have 2 guys running it or something like that. We don't know that yet. So it does suck though at the moment to lose somebody as good of a recruiter as he was, but I'm just waiting for the next chess move.
Hey, back to my cool AI toy. Did you guys see, like, while you guys are talking, my wife is texting me, like, literally right in front of you on my face. Like, she's like, what time are you putting our son to bed? And I was like, I needed like 10 more minutes. Oh my God. I thought that was so funny, but I wasn't sure if you guys could see it. You guys can't see it though, right?
No clue. No clue. I thought
Isn't that so awesome?
Thought your
the
googly
future's
eyes
bright.
Just...
My crazy eyes were looking crazy. By the way, part of the reason my eyes look nuts is because I just realized everything that's happening with my screen right now is my eyes moving things.
Oh,
so like your eyes are in control of what's happening. So it looks like to you that I'm like on meth, but reality is I'm like working inside of this thing.
Eddie, we're gonna have a bunch of people like messaging you saying, you know that Shelton and David had a fake AI version of you just talking out there on the show, right?
Yeah. I can't wait for that. Well, Eddie, I do appreciate you coming on here, man. AI version 2. I mean, to get 2 versions of Eddie is unheard. I don't think anybody's done that before. So we're unmatched here at High Top Sports per usual. Your takes were great. Some people in the comments saying, Eddie, don't hold back. You don't in the spaces. People have to understand, like, the spaces are more of a conversation. We're trying to keep it, like more of a back and forth.
Well, the other thing too is I think it's okay to feel different ways, different days. Like I think fans that think negativity, the negativity on a Tuesday at 10 might be because we're talking about something that's not positive or something that just happened or we're still thinking about it. Like Florida football is a moving target. Like things happen tomorrow that change perception from today. That's about being a fanatic, right? Like it's about like some people say, well, why won't you be good all the time or bad all the time? Well, guess why? Because in football, in recruiting, when coaches are getting hired and coaches are getting fired, it's not always good. It's not always bad. Things change. But at the end of the day, we're all Gators. We all want to see victory happen, right? I think, I'll say it right here, right now, people could pull this a year from now. There's 8 wins on that schedule for a coaching staff that can get these guys to max out, I think. I think it's a realistic request in year 3. Agree. And you got 7 home games. We're playing a bunch of new quarterbacks. They got a bunch of questions too. Elko's going into a new situation. Miami's not exactly, what are they, 12-13 under
UCF's
Mario?
got a new quarterback situation. FSU starting over. Look, these are things that I state that it's like, look, like everyone wants to just, I'm not saying that we're in the best situation either, but everybody's resetting. There's some good things that we can point to for Florida football that should excite you, I would say, with some consistency that we haven't had, and that is Graham Mertz, a quarterback that's coming back for another year. An offensive line that took a massive step back. A lot of guys went to the NFL. We forgot about that as well, too. So we're having some guys coming back there, some consistency that I'm excited about. Defensively, look, that's 100% question marks all over the place. But I feel like they went out and did things to address those things. And that's, we're kind of in the wait and see moment with that. But yeah, look, that's the drum that I've been beating. And then we get, pegged for the Disney Gator. And it's like, look, I don't know how else you would like us to look at these things. It's just
right.
And like you said, I think you nailed it on the head. It depends on what happens that day, right? Just like in life or in general, sometimes you wake up on the wrong side of the bed, you're a little frustrated. You wake up, you stub your toe, it's raining outside, you're pissed off. Like, it's just like, it doesn't matter. Like, somebody may ask you the same question every single day, but that third day might just piss you off because of what happened prior to it. And I think that's the thing too, is ebbs and flows. And not that I'm just constantly mad. And again, I keep circling back to it. We all want to win. And I think if we're winning, nobody really cares how we get there. It's just because it's been so bad for a while. We are so granularly involved that we're fine. It's like when you're annoyed with your sibling or even your wife, right? You're just finding dumb shit to get mad about at this point. That's kind of why I feel like where we're at, unfortunately.
Yeah, and like any good relationship or tough relationship in your life, like it does ebb and flow. It does go one way and then feel another way.
We lost AI Eddie. Good.
We did lose AI, Eddie.
I can hear you, Eddie.
I think I lost you there. Can you hear me through this?
Yeah, you can take the goggles off.
Hey, he's real. He's real, guys. We've had him on, I swear.
This is incredible. Oh, we couldn't hear us.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Sorry, guys. I you know what I was doing? I was using my hands and I straight hit the off button. Because these, all right,
we're all learning, right? It's like our football program. There's a moral to the story. So this thing is brand new to me, and when you're using it, like I forget, you can't do certain things like these. If you do this with your finger, it means something. So I was making a point. I'm like, yeah, boom, turned it all off.
Your audio is incredible in that thing. I will say the audio, like it's way better than what it is now.
Yeah.
So it's something.
I am ugly as all get up though. My AI, I gotta fix my avatar, bro. These are new problems in life. You gotta fix your avatar now.
Yeah,
you
you're
didn't
not
have these problems.
You're not picking
ago.
anybody up with that thing, but I'm telling you right now, the my balls get me wild now. I loved it. It was a good time though. Eddie, pleasure as always. You're always welcome on the show, of course. Much appreciated. Are you going to spring game?
It's all about the kids' schedule. I'm hoping, I got 3 kids, 14, 9, and 5. I want to be there. I don't make all the Gator games now. When you guys got, I got 3 kids, so 7 days a week there's something on the schedule. If it's not a school play, it's a ballet. It's not a ballet. It's flag football. It's not bag football. It's travel baseball or whatever. But last night I had a chance to hang out with Sully, baseball coach. I took my kids there. I think some people saw it on Twitter. I was out there with the baseball team. What a freaking fun time! That dude's a beast when it comes to winning. And they're back on track tonight. They kicking the crap out of Bethune-Cookman tonight, so they're back on track. And now we're going into basketball and baseball season, and then the worst season of all, when everything ends and you just gotta kind of wait that last month before we get to football season's always the toughest, right? So yeah, I wish August. I just can't wait as a Gator football fan till August 31st, because I feel like that game is gonna kind of like talk about a big opportunity to set the record straight in the state right out the gate. I'm picking us to win. We'll see.
It has the same vibe. I mean, last year against Utah, obviously, I mean, every game is exciting, but 2 years ago, you had that first game against Utah. Anthony, there were so many new, fresh things that were coming out, right? And now I feel like we're there again because of how much changes we had. Graham Mertz is coming back off of an injury. We're going to have DJ Lagway sit in the backfield. It's Miami. We haven't played in Miami in a very long time. Like, it's just so much. The hype for this buildup it's already happening. It's February. It's going to be insane, and I cannot wait for it. But Eddie, pleasure, my man. Tell them where they can find you on Twitter, because you are constantly running space. I think you're the mayor of X. I'm not sure that's certain, but it's up for debate.
Yeah, I'm a victim of too much time on my hands. So like I hang out during the day, work out. Soderquist is at work. Sometimes he jumps in, but it's so much fun to mix it up with Gator fans. I love fans, man. But at Gator Pow, Gator POW is my Twitter handle. And man, I really appreciate the opportunity to come in tonight. I know we've been trying to get this off the ground. God bless the Florida Gators and nobody else. And I just hope we just keep this thing going. And I hope Billy Napier comes out and wins those 8-9 games next year. And we can build something. It's gonna be tough, but you know what? Nothing good comes easy. So that's where he's at right now.
I appreciate it. Go Gators, man. Be good. We'll talk to you.
See you on Spaces, Eddie.
Go Gators, fellas.
That's true. He's not going far. 4 months from Levi Blue Orange Gator. 4 months membership. More like and subscribe. Go Gators and High Top Sports. Thank you, my man. And Ben Smith also said people have a hobby of hating with $2 super chat. Thank you, Ben Smith. I also make congrats again on the baby Bubba. Good seeing you. Look, good stuff there with Eddie Rojas talking about those coaching changes. Look, it's got me fired up again, bro. That's where I'm at. That's why I love it. I think he again nailed it on the head of it's the ebbs and flows of college football and being a fanatic that. Dude, like I find myself getting too worked up sometimes with the Twitter sphere. I got to learn not to get too rowdy with it. I talked about it on Monday. Like it can get a little exhausting. It's dumb, but like I care about this team. I care about it being successful. And when it just gets negative, it could be a little, over the top sometimes. Look, we are going to talk about it a little bit. Not to be negative, I think it's interesting. You know why we're talking about it? It's because it's mainstream. it's being talked about by everyone. Andy Stapleton, or is it Stapleton? Did I get that right? Staples, excuse me. Had a little quote. He had an entire video discussing the pulse of Gator Nation. And one of the quotes that he said that I loved is I think they moved past being mad in some sort of resignation, which I don't think that's good. He said, if you're Ben Sass, the president of Florida, I don't think you want to see that and you've been on the job less than a year, you got this apathetic fan base because when they're mad, at least they still care. You need to get them caring again. And that I is the one line that I agree with. That's not being negative. It's simply just him, looking at the situation. I do think that Gator fan bases are at that point. They're all, and I think that's kind of where everyone will settle at today, that they're at a wait and see moment. Let's just wait till football. They don't even want to get excited. They don't want to get excited about recruits because of how the recruiting season ended last year. We're at a point where it's like, just call me, wake me up when September ends, is where Florida fan base, unfortunately, is at. And then again, what it leads to is with like any relationship is because we're mad and frustrated, all we know what to do is attack each other because we can't yell at Scott Stapleton. We can't yell at Ben Sass. We can tweet at Billy. We'll just get blocked, right? We were trying to find somebody to yell at, and it ends up just being us, which is that's like the worst part of it. But we got to simmer down, I think, a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't get too far into, like, the feelings of Gator fans on Twitter and all that. I made a comment earlier that said, look, man, people like us that have platforms, we walk on eggshells sometimes because if we say something, the 20% of the fan base is going to be pissed off. The other 80 is probably going to be okay with it. And then next time, you probably have some other part of the fan base mad at you and all that. Okay, like, that's where I came up with the phrase, I just report the news, guys. Don't yell at me. But anyway, like I like Andy Staples. He's a very fair and level-headed reporter, especially for Florida Gators.
Sure.
And I mean, like, yeah, I mean, there is a little bit of an apathetic kind of feel around Florida right now, just because of how things shook out and how, like you said, the recruiting class went from 3 to 16. And you look at it and you're like, man, how did we land this top 50 recruit? How did we land this guy? You're just like, after all this stuff happened, they're still wanting to come to Florida. So, I mean, it's a good thing to look at just based on the fact that, like, there's still that logo and then the coaches and people. And Billy Napier's been known to be a family type of oriented guy. He gets along with the parents. He gets along with the kids. And kids generally just want to play here at Florida because of the lure, the atmosphere, the crowd, everything else. Just the, overall feel when you come to the swamp. So, I mean, you're always going to have that on your side, but winning obviously helps. And like you said, the opportunities isn't in front of you right now. The first half of your schedule is all new starting quarterbacks. You talk about Florida State. I mean, 8 wins is on that schedule. Like, you literally do have 8 wins on that schedule. Of course, you're going to have a toss-up probably with LSU and some other teams, but like, you have a chance to really start off really well, especially if you get into that first game with Miami at home and you beat them, and maybe if you beat them convincingly. Does that make the pulse of Gator Nation go a little bit more higher? You head on into Samford the next week. You're probably going to beat them. So,
for sure, we go out there and crush Miami. I mean, like, again, but then you lose to Texas A&M. 2 weeks later, it's right. That's just and look, Larry Cox is like, if I didn't get pissed off, I wouldn't care about them. I'm passionate about it. And look, I agree. I think I what I love about the fan base, and again, why you guys tune in every Wednesday, is because you are passionate. It's February and we're yelling at each other, so it comes with it. It comes with the territory. I think the reason why, and we're gonna show a clip in a little bit from what's his name, the guy that talked about the BetMGM. You know his name.
Barrett Saleh.
Barrett Saleh, yeah, where he makes a clip, and like the clip is like, I think it's a little much, but. And we were saying, it's like, look, because like you post anything about Florida and people are going to go berserk because the fan base is just that thirsty and that crazy in a good and a bad way. It's what makes, I say it all the time, it's what makes it special. So, look, I think what happens sometimes is, the water boils over, and thankfully Dave kind of heads me out a little bit because I get a little rowdy and rambunctious. I'll be in the Discord. And what's great is I know like the guys like LFGM and Q Lee and Mr. Nobody. Thankfully, I've had personal conversations with them, so I know like there's a respect and a love for each other there. So we may be oil on water talking, but I don't take it personally. If there's some random ass avatar sometimes, bro, says some shit, and I just look at their ugly little face with a selfie, bro, I'm like, I get rowdy. You know what I mean? I'm like, this mother, yeah, like, hey, like, I'm Dave, hey, Dave.
That was insecure people on the internet that use avatars. I mean, look, I'm not gonna hide this sexy hairline here, man. It's here all night.
Anyway. We wish you would. Real quick though, 341-519. Hopefully they're not a sex bot. Holy shnikes! I made it on a live stream. Canada loves High Top Sports. I love that. It's a weird username, but I love it.
The comment section was kind of cracking me up there a little bit. Aaron Joyner said, "Can we get Shelton's mom AI?" And then this one said Dave needs AI with a smaller forehead. So I thought that was pretty fun.
I love it. Look, I think, and again, the reason what frustrates me too, there's obviously with Swolderquist, and I feel like we're like a drama show at the moment. I don't want to be. I think it's just part of just the passion of what's happening with college football. I feel like a little dumb here, but just watching it unfold on today about like kind of Dave being called out and his pessimistic side and his thoughts, and it's like, look, Dave's phenomenal. I think Dave is one of the OGs. The guy keeps 100. I could see where people get frustrated with me because I'm definitely probably more over the top, saying we're back every single day. I also think we kind of toe the line of like, all right, like we know who we are. We're like a little bit crazier. Dave definitely has more of the professionalism. So I think that's where people were kind of going out of like, look, like you carry the different type of brand. And so he has a little more, I would say, control and power with his words, given the fact that his brand is a little more serious than what we do here in Hot Dogs Wars. So I get it, man. It's tough. But ultimately, man, I think, I keep saying, we all want the same thing. We all just want to win football games,
We're high top, man. We're seriously unserious.
Yeah, we just like to have some fun and hang out. Look, boys, let's talk about it. So, so right on cue here. There was a fight that got posted. That's not it. There was a fight that got posted from Kentucky locker room, and I tweeted it. I go, live look at Florida's Twitter because that's 100% spot on. A couple of things that's interesting is we're not quite sure of the date of when this happened. Apparently, I read an article that this happened a few months ago, right before the bowl game, because I don't know which player. I'm assuming the one that's landing all the punches and then that pulls a suplex here was suspended out of nowhere for Kentucky right before the bowl game. And I'm reading the article, and as I'm reading this, it basically just got released out of nowhere. And I'm like, this thing has been in hiding now for how many months? And just before the combine, they're interviewing this week. The video drops. Like, we see this happen all the time. And I'm like, this is somebody taking a jab, trying to ruin this. Because it's gonna drop his draft stock. This is locker room material stuff. This guy, you know what I mean?
To be honest, though, this happens in a lot of college locker rooms, and it doesn't get recorded. Sure. I mean, like, I think it happened in Florida's locker room, 4 years ago, and it got recorded. Like, I think Trey Dean got in a fight with somebody and got knocked on his ass, got up. I can't remember how the video went, but like, it happens all across college football. I mean, these are you gotta think these kids are like 18 to 20 to 21. You're not going to see this in an NFL locker room. You might every now and then if tempers flare or all that, but you're going to see it's very uncommon because the guys are a lot older, they're more established, they get paid by contracts, all that other kind of stuff. But like, I looked at it, I thought it was funny, but at the same time, it's like, this happens all the time. Like, this is something that you can't make a big deal of. And like you said, the NFL draft, I don't know if they're really going to care. They might have questions about it, but like,
it doesn't help. Like, again, if you're around, like if you're an end of the third rounder, right? Like each round adjusts your bonus. So could it knock them 2-3 spots? May not seem like a big deal, but when you're going from 3 rounds to the 4th round, that's a pretty big deal. And yes, something like this, if you're between a guy or two, I'm not going to go with that guy. There's clearly problems there, right? So is it a massive deal? No. And yes, these things happen. Again, it's like what we were just talking about with brotherly love in the fan base. You sometimes you disagree with the other person, and sometimes I feel like he does. I just like, hey, let's just swing it out and let's just suplex one another and let's move past it. I don't always have that luxury. I would love to suplex Mr. Nobody, right? Like, would love to. Would love to.
Who wouldn't love to angle slam somebody like that?
You know what I mean?
Like right now, I'll say Muddy Waters said Dave's the best we could afford for the show. We love him. Hey, I'm like the dollar store. You get bang for your buck here, baby.
What, bro? We're just getting jabbed up here left and right. I love it. But yeah, it was funny. It went all over the place today. But I was more intrigued by it's the timing of it, of trying to throw him under the bus like that, man. Dude, these college kids, man, they got to be. We've known it, but I feel like it's gonna, it's only going to continue to get worse of having to look out for you. All right, let's play this clip here from Barrett Saleh. It's a wild, I don't know. It's one of those things where, like, again, you got the two sides of the Gator Nation right now where they love this because it's aggressive. Let me play the clip. I don't even know how to go at it. It's a good one though. Let's take a listen to it real quick.
Oh, I thought we were going to see the fight again.
Huh.
By putting Florida at 100-1, BetOnline AG thinks Billy Napier will be fired by the end of September. There's no other way around it. These odds don't factor in Miami, UCF, and Florida State. BetOnline AG thinks he's just that bad. He's just that bad. Clearly, they have no faith in Graham Mertz. Clearly, they have no faith in DJ Lagway. Clearly, they think the roster attrition, probably most notably Trevor Etienne, is too much for Billy Napier to overcome. This is an indictment of the Florida program by BetOnline AG. A massive, massive indictment.
All right, real quick, just so we're all clear here. Me and Barrett, we got beef. All right. We got beef because during the whole Shannon Sharp thing, Barrett tried to come from the top rope. All right. So no love here, boys.
That is the biggest over exaggeration to get clicks I've ever seen in my life.
Wild, dude. Because look, I mean, I get it. You're having an opinion, but he's not even. Here's the thing: he's not even having an opinion because he. What we were talking about earlier is making a statement as if this is the news. He's reporting this as a Bet Online is stating, if Florida goes 8-4, they will not make the SEC championship and will definitely not win the SEC championship. That's not a fire by September. If Florida goes 7-5, I think he's on the ropes. They don't make the SEC. They don't make the SEC championship. Billy's not getting fired. They go 9-3. They're probably not making the. They're not making the SEC championship. They're not going to win the SEC championship. Billy's not getting fired. They go 10-2. They still may not make the SEC championship, and they're obviously not going to win. They could go 11-1, make the SEC championship, and still lose. It's an odds because, yes, do we feel like they're going to go in there and beat a Texas, a Georgia, an Oklahoma, these teams that have been building up for this moment? That's what it is. If the odds were them to go over 5.5 games, then I would agree with you. I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. But to simply state that they're not going to, because of this odd number, that's what they're stating here. This is, I appreciate the big words, Barrett. I appreciate your delivery. It was the lick lip for me that got me really fired up. And your slow, methodical thought process, which makes people bought in. Bad take, bud. Like, hey, freezing cold take. I'm not saying that these things can't happen or won't happen, but I don't think Online woke up two Sundays ago, was like, you know what? I got one for you. This is going to be an indictment on Florida here, boys. Buckle up.
Do you have those odds of the other coaches that you were talking to me on the phone about, like, South Carolina's head coach,
yes,
who could possibly be on the hot seat too because he's not doing so well, and
Shane Beamer and South Carolina we were plus 11,000. South Carolina was plus 1,000. Bob Stoops with Kentucky, who's been there for 10 years, was plus 9,000. So those two guys, I guess, are also Bet Online AG was in the same category. They're also indicted to be fired by mid-September, right? Shane Beamer, it has to be. He has had the same track record as Billy now.
It's an indictment, and they might as well all quit now.
I don't even know why they even showed up.
I don't know either, man. I don't know what they're going to do. It looks like South Carolina's going to have to hire a new coach now. So it's Florida. I mean, it's God. Bet Online just, they just did us in.
And look, here's the thing, though. A take like that is going to run rampant because Florida fans are going to go berserk about it and be like, you're an idiot, or like it. And then you're going to have the people that, because of how he delivers it, but yeah, this guy knows what he's talking about. I'm like, yeah, I told you Florida sucks. Like, and it's going to explode. I don't want to be this like negative guy, but it's like, dude, these things, and myself included, we kind of get wrapped up into these things. Like takes like this, it's like you're not even trying. We're at a point now where it's like you didn't sit down and think this through. I don't believe it.
It's your typical clickbait take is what it is. That's exactly what that is. That's why, like, when I saw the video, I just kind of kept scrolling. I wasn't even going to reply to it. Like, I'm not going to give you the luxury of me replying to some clickbait kind of take.
Yeah, it was, look, I appreciate it, but I was like, it was just so, and this is what gets, the Gator fans fired up. They see this, like, see, they wanted to indict it. Like, oh, this is where we're at.
Do you really think that, like, anybody that's done predictions for the SEC this year has picked Florida to win the SEC or go to the national championship or anything like that? No. So how's it an indictment? It makes no sense.
I think Vegas picking 5.5, that one's a little more serious, right? Like, that to me is more telling than the 1/100th odds to win the SEC. I think Vegas choosing Florida to win 5.5 again, to pick that number when they were spot on last year, that to me is more of a telling sign. Like, you could go like, hey, Vegas believes that it. Look, that's not an indictment on Billy, but that they believe this, and if that's the case, we all know Billy's going to be gone. That to me is more of a death sentence than this. So if he would have ran with that, he'd have been more spot on. And he can't sit here and say that's what he was going with, because that's not where he went at all with it.
Hey, and I'll say this, 100-1 odds. Hey, I'll bet 10 or 20 on it just for the hell of it.
Let's go, baby. Let's rock and roll. Real quick, boys and girls, some news has dropped today. It hasn't been for certain, but they're going to be discussing it. We've got to talk all about it because I think it's very interesting here that they're looking at changing the signing periods. As of now, for signing a recruit, we all know that it's the end of December, like 21st, 22nd, kind of varies, is that first signing day, and then it is in February. But we know we saw what happened last year. Basically, December, 96% of the class, I believe, was already signed. February was not what it used to be. Just 2 years ago, February was much more exciting than it was this past year. February was a complete waste of time. December also, though, got in the way of the transfer portal. So this is what's being proposed as of now. They're going to discuss about it and figure these things out. First signing period will be a 3 or 7 calendar day period beginning the last Wednesday in June. So meaning the last day in June, and they have 3 days, because right now the signing period is the 22nd. I think they have 3 days after that to fully sign. So basically they would have 3 days after that last day in June to sign, headed into July. Then there will be a second one in early December, the Wednesday, beginning the Wednesday following the last FBS regular season contest, which then is well beyond that transfer portal period. And then the third one being that February date still. Very interesting here. Again, there's a lot of things to talk about with this because your whole entire strategy changes with recruiting now. And we were just talking about it before. Look, there's so many levels you can get into this, but having guys sign before the season's huge because there's a lot of kids that probably, when they commit, it's because they don't want to have to go through all the drama. And imagine if you're able to go into the season with, let's say, 10, 11 guys signed. That's massive. That takes a ton of pressure off of your plate. And if you see what Florida's been doing last year and headed into this year, getting heavily involved with recruiting. And imagine if we would have had those guys actually signed by June, the ones that all committed, right? They probably would have signed at that moment, and you wouldn't have to worry about that last-minute swoop. Now, could they ask to be removed from their NIL letter? Yes. Could they go into the portal later in December? Yes. So all of these things can still happen, but it is going to play a big factor. I don't think June is going to have the same impact as December. Like, I don't think things are going to completely shift. I think guys are still going to want to sign in at December, so I think you're going to have 2 exciting days. February is going to seem irrelevant, in my opinion, but I like it. I think it's interesting. I think, again, you're just giving these kids another opportunity to sign a little bit early, and it will, again, you're just adding another level to recruiting, which is another reason why I think these coaches and Saban, these guys are kind of moving on because the whole game is evolving, and you've got to change your entire process now with this. What are your thoughts, Dave?
Yeah, and it also gives you something to talk about in June because there's football already on in June. So there you go. But I think it does give a good opportunity to like some of the players that just absolutely know for a fact where they're going, and they can just go ahead and sign with whatever school they want to and not have to be bothered by coaches all the rest of the year trying to be recruited and going to all these camps and these guys talking to them and getting in their ear and all that. So I think like it's good for like the players that directly know, but I'm pretty sure most of the players that still want to be recruited, wined and dined on visits, all that other kind of stuff will probably wait till the early signing period or probably National Signing Day. But I think it's good. I mean, in a way, you think about it and you're like, man, I said this earlier on Twitter. I said, man, I wish that rule would have been in effect last year. But at the same time, like you said, you can ask out of your national letter of intent. You can enter the transfer portal. I mean, the same thing happened with Jameer Grimsley. Nick Saban retires. He'd already enrolled, so he had to go through the transfer portal route. If he had not enrolled, he could have asked out of his NLI and just committed to Florida. Instead, he's counted as a transfer and not a high school commit. So, I mean, there's plenty of things that could happen and you could do just based on like how it is structured. But I think it's really cool. And like I said, it gives us something to talk about. There's no football. Give me something else to talk about in June.
Look, I mean, the transfer portal is already extended to the season. And I think this is going to start the season sooner with that. But also, I don't know how much of a factor this plays, but I've started to see some high school kids land some NIL deals, and simply from their offers, you've got to believe if they sign with the class, that almost can solidify the celebrity status of a certain player which may help them. And now certain states are, I mean, I'm sure this will start to increase, but would probably help with their NIL. So that'll be something to keep an eye on is like, look, if I'm signed with Florida Gators, it's like, look, I'm a 4-star guy that just signed with the Florida Gators. How would you not want to throw that kid on the billboard in high school? So those, we may think like, oh, no kid's going to sign that early. With how this thing's headed, imagine if you're a kid in high school, you're going into your senior year, you sign with Florida in July, you sign a local deal with your local scholarship in high school because they know for a fact they are sponsoring a Florida Gator recruit or a player now because he signed with them more than just a verbally committed kid. It changes everything. So I think it's going to benefit everybody. And again, it's going to change the entire process. And also look last year. Is this Billy playing chess? Was Billy ahead of the game in this sense? And that wasn't just Billy. A lot of schools were doing this. Having these visits in early June. At one time, people were like, this seems really early. That Friday Night Lights thing that we have in July, that felt, that's evolved already. It's not as prominent into current guys. It's more 2 years ahead, right? That's what it's turning into. Now it makes sense because that would be too late, right? Like why have that? Now, don't get me wrong, current guys still go, but not to what it used to be. It's all about 2 years in advance. Guys that are nowhere near committing. So that when you're kind of scratching your head, why is that changing? Well, that's the case because Jubilee Weekend was born this past year. That wasn't a thing the year before that. So I don't know. Was it lucky? Was it by chance? Was he there on it? I don't know. But I don't know if it's going to be in effect would it be in effect this June? Did you see that anywhere?
If they're still voting on it, I would assume it would be in effect next June, the following June. But this is college football, man. They've changed things so quickly, so you never know.
Yeah, I mean, why wouldn't you? Why couldn't you? Because again, it's not like you're forcing anybody to do this, right? You're just giving somebody an opportunity to make a decision a little bit sooner. So I don't know. Again, they can't enroll any sooner. I think the biggest one though is moving that December one up early because that 2 week span was nuts. You never really had a break, and you've got guys coming in, you've got coaches leaving. It was mayhem for that 2 week period. So to kind of have some separation between, I guess you can call it seasons, from recruiting to transfer portal to recruiting, back to transfer portal, I think is huge. But think about it, right? We've got the signing period in February still. Right now, we're in the kind of the quietest part, but technically kids can still sign, but nobody's really signing. And then we're going to hit May, which is a transfer portal. And now if they open this thing up in June, so you've got a recruiting cycle in June, then you get the season started, then you get another recruiting cycle in February, then the portal. It's never going to stop, boys. It's never going to stop.
From I guess like a reporter's job scenario, it's phenomenal because you're just going to have things to talk about throughout that whole cycle. But man, it's crazy, dude. Like it's changing and it's evolving so much that like the old school guys like me that was like watching college football in like the early 90s and then all the way up to now, it's like it's changed so much. Like I don't know, man. Like I think they're changing way too much, way too fast. But I mean, that's just my opinion.
A lot is changing very, very fast. Well, boys, the basketball team got it done tonight against Mizzou. Closed down strong. Tyree said in a recent interview he believes they could be a Final Four team. And look, me being the sunshine pumper that I am, I said that about a week and a half ago. I think like this team has the criteria to get it done, and he even says that, hey, first half team we're one of the best in the country. And I said, look, but you got to close. And he goes, we got to learn how to close. And that's going to be the biggest thing in March Madness because this is why you have upsets. You have Cinderella stories because basketball is a weird sport. Guys can hang in there for the first 2 quarters. Typically what happens is the better team pulls away in the second half. They've got depth. They've got experience. They know how to handle themselves in these big moments. That's where you see upsets because you have a really talented team. Virginia got upset. Kentucky, right? These teams that go in there get upset because they're super talented. So yes, it's carried them throughout the year. There's no pressure. The moment they feel a little bit of heat, they haven't had to deal with it. That's where adversity starts to set in, and you got to learn how to overcome yourself. I think Florida has been dealing a lot with that throughout the year, has matured very quickly. They've addressed their problems. Again, if we're compared it to how Billy does, I mean, you got to like what you're seeing from Florida basketball and what Todd's been able to do and how he's adjusted. I'm excited. I love it. I think the team is, again, firing on all cylinders. They got the key pieces. They're able to rebound. They've got shooters. They've got a guy in Walter Clayton they can count on. Right, Kugel, a lot of great moving pieces that I'm really excited about. And as of now, I believe they are a lock for March Madness. So I know there was kind of some touch and go there for a minute, but I think this win has, solidified it. But obviously we got Saturday, South Carolina, then Tuesday, Bama at home. Winning one of those 100% solidifies it. Where we end up in seeding, I think, is going to now be the next question. And obviously, right now we're sitting at 7 when I talked about it on Monday. There should be an update yesterday. So it could have updated even as of yesterday. But we were 7 just 2 days ago. So.
Yeah, man, I love hockey. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, I mean, the basketball team's been doing very well. I mean, like, I even noticed it just not really being a basketball fan. And I remember, I think it was like 2 weeks ago, I was talking to you, Shelton. I was like, Florida rebounds the ball really well. And then I find out they're like, I think they're leading the SEC or they're under. Yeah, something like that. So I've been trying to catch it a little bit, trying to watch it a little bit. I ain't gonna lie, but of course, football is where my heart is, and that's what I cover. That's what I report the news on. But hey, you know what? If I can take a shot at a rival at a different sport, hey.
we're working on getting David more well versed, guys. All right, so Andrew Apple is a little late. He goes, Eddie, I hate those things, and the future is dark. Look, I got to be honest, dude. When I first saw those Apple AI things, my wife and I watched it, and I was like, it's very eerie because it reminds me of WALL-E, where everyone just gets sucked into their chair and they just like that's literally what it reminded me of. They're sitting in their little chairs and everything they need is right there in their face. They can just literally do whatever they want. And it is dopamine overload what you can do with this thing. Like you've got, like you said, you got this here, like you don't have to leave. What's funny is Cody's wife, she's watching the review. She's like, we would have to ever go on vacation because you can literally just plop yourself somewhere and then walk around. And it's a little scary. I will have to say it's scary.
Yeah. I was actually trying to look it up. You probably don't know this. The movie was made in 1992. You probably weren't born yet. But
I wasn't.
I was about to say the movie called The Lawnmower Man. It was kind of like a cyberspace kind of movie. It kind of reminded me of that when Eddie was on there with his AI and he was like looking around. I was just like, dude, that's so weird. It freaks me out. It reminds me of that movie so much.
That is especially 1992. Andrew says, Linky looking strong and ready. Good. God's good. Love that, man. Love that. Love it.
How much are those? Aren't those like $3 or $4 grand?
$4 grand, bro. Yeah. Eddie got that dog in him though. What's up, Callie?
All Eddie had to do was just pull out like what was in his back pocket to pay for that.
Yeah, he was like, go for a 20-minute demo. He was never not leaving without those things. Well, boys and girls, great show. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Smash the like button and subscribe if you are brand new. Crushing through. Next Thursday, I believe we have spring practice. Am I right or wrong there, Dave?
Yeah, it should be Thursday. I believe.
Yeah, goodness. Thank
practice.
Goodness. That's exciting. I cannot wait for that. Hopefully we can get into that and move past the drama, move past the off-field drama, and get into just talking football, going over notes, having Zach on to talk about his time while he's there. I'm gonna use and abuse Zach as much as he's willing to come on the show during this upcoming offseason. Should be a good time. Allie, I asked her to come on. She ghosted me. So you guys go give her shit on Twitter. She just wrote me back and said, sorry, I just saw this next time. So go give her flack for bailing on us. But we got AI Eddie, so we upgraded.
We got 2 Eddies on the show.
That's true.
Real Eddie and
that's true. We had 2 for 1. 2 for 1. You can't beat that. Boys and girls, I love you. Have yourselves a fantastic weekend. Be good. Till next time, I'm Shelton.
And I just reported me.
Peace and love, baby.